I think we were quite aware that this was novel, it was new, it had not been published before, and that it might have a big impact. On the other hand, I wasn't so sure about publishing this. And the reason for this is that over the years, certainly over the years before we published this in 1993, it had become quite unpopular to suggest any link between behavior, and certainly problem behaviors, and biology, let alone genetics. So I wasn't too sure of the reception that such a piece of work might have, both in the scientific community and outside. What I did was I talked to the family and asked them if they wanted this published. And they were quite positive about it. They said that because they'd been living with this condition for generations, and that finally someone had found out what was going on. You must realize that they'd been, as a family, they'd been given quite a bad name for the way they raised their children. And of course, now that there was this genetic abnormality, they felt to some extent vindicated. So the family really said, if you publish this, maybe the other families will also be identified and they can be helped like we've been helped. That was one reason. On reflection, I decided that if this was going to ruin my scientific career, I would still be happy because I could be a doctor and have patients come to my clinic anyway, so I didn't depend on it. So in the end, I was ready to take the risk that this would be very unfavorably received. And it wasn't, of course, it was very favorably received, and people were quite enthusiastic about it right from the start. I think there was a great need for a solid demonstration that genes do matter to behavior and personality. There had been a whole field of behavioral genetics which was created on the assumption that there were genes that influence our behaviors and influence psychopathology. And in those times, there would be people critical of this field who would say, look at all the money that's been spent and no one's ever found any gene. And now all of a sudden the scientists could say, but there has been a gene. So I think in that sense, it did away with this very restrictive paradigm, which was still, it wasn't as strong as before, but was still in existence, that all behavior is learned, that we're born as a blank slate, and what our parents and society put on that slate is who we become. This is the complete environmental paradigm, and that paradigm was just about ready to be replaced, or at least removed. And I think our paper did that very effectively.